Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video, doing the European outlook for today's second video. So as always on a Thursday, we're having a detailed look at the weather for the next week to 10 days for Europe, and I shall get on back to you in a moment. Just to say about the first video release today was our 6 AM upload, and we've got 10 to 14 there with all of the regular features coming up to you later on this afternoon. So please like, share, subscribe on the videos, and we thank you so very much, everybody, for doing that. I hope you're having a lovely Thursday. Right, so this is the situation across Europe today. We've got high pressure across the far northeast of Europe and into the northwest of Russia. We've got low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic Ocean, so they're having a bit of a battle with one another. And then we've got slack gradients further south. Upper air temperatures are cold in the north of Europe, from Scandinavia through to the northwest of Russia. Pretty chilly down the eastern side of Europe as well. As we said, milder in the west and across the southern parts of Europe. Precipitation-wise, we look like that. So there's a band of heavy rain sweeping in from off the Atlantic through Ireland, the UK, just moving into northern parts of France. And another band of wet weather through northern and western parts of Spain and into Portugal. We've got some light snow across southern parts of Scandinavia, and we've also got some, well, that could be rain, sleet or snow across the south of Scandinavia, more likely snow the further north you go. And then we've got outbreaks of potentially rain, sleet or snow here over on the eastern side of Europe as well. Heavy showers and thunderstorms through the eastern part of the Mediterranean up towards the Black Sea. However, most parts of Med actually look reasonably dry today. Precipitation-wise, it's bitterly cold across much of northern Europe, especially Norway and central parts of Sweden, also into Finland, and then down into the Baltic Sea states of Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania too. Bitter cold through there. It also looks pretty cold through much of Poland and into western parts of Ukraine, although eastern Ukraine looks milder towards the Black Sea. And then come down into Mediterranean. It's basically quite mild through most parts of the Med. It does turn milder at the western side of Europe as well, including the UK, Ireland, and below countries and western parts of Germany too. Right then, well, tomorrow, Friday, we'll see more low pressure out in the Atlantic, but we are trying to build up a bit of a ridge from the Azores high into the western part of Europe. The high pressure begin to strengthen over the northwest of Russia as well. Upper air temperatures are still cold across the far north of Europe, and pretty chilly down the eastern side as well. Milder further west, especially so across much of the central western part of the Mediterranean. And precipitation-wise, we look like that. So lots of dry weather across Scandinavia, some light snow throws here and there, but quite a bit of dry weather through Sweden. Perhaps more general outbreaks of rain, possibly with sleet and snow mixed in through southern parts of Norway and down into Denmark and northern Germany as well. And then going further south to that, we have some heavy showers and thunderstorms through the south of France, pushing over the Alpine regions, of course, back return to snow. And then showers and thunderstorms breaking out through the central part of the Med, from the Balearic Islands to Corsica and Sardinia. Most of Spain and Portugal looks very dry tomorrow. And much of east and southeast Europe looking dry as well. The Balkans looks pretty dry, as does many of the Greek islands. Some heavy showers and thunderstorms as we push towards Turkey and up towards the Black Sea. And for the UK and Ireland, again, there could be some showers in places, and those will be affecting parts of the North Sea coast of the Low Countries as well. Temperature-wise, very cold again across much of northern Europe and into the northeast too. Many eastern parts of Europe look pretty chilly, but mildest temperatures are going to be through the Med, through southern Europe, and then up the western side of Europe once more. Saturday brings a deepening area of low pressure in from off the Atlantic into western parts of Europe, so Ireland, UK, possibly the northwest of France, turn wet and windy as the weekend progresses. Meanwhile, the high pressure is maintained just up to the northeast, and a ridge is building through the central parts of Europe as well. Upper air temperatures look chilly across the north of Europe, and quite cold really through many central and eastern regions, with mildest upper air temperatures again in the west, and particularly down in the south and the southwest of Europe, Spain and Portugal, for example. So more wet weather piling into Ireland and the UK on Saturday, and then we have these torrential showers and thunderstorms affecting much of the central part of the Mediterranean in towards Italy and beginning to push towards the Greek islands as well. Malta could be affected with those heavy showers and thunderstorms on Saturday too. Light snow across the far northeast as you over around some of these Baltic Sea states. However, many areas are actually reasonably dry on Saturday as well as different areas of high pressure. Temperatures remain cold across the north and the northeast of Europe. Chilly down the eastern side of Europe as well. Poland, Ukraine looking quite cold, for example. And even into the southeastern part of Europe through the Balkans, looking quite chilly through there. The warmest temperatures will be again through the Mediterranean and pushing up that western side of Europe. Into Sunday, the low pressure is moving further into Europe from off the Atlantic into the continent. So those mild upper air temperatures in West Europe are gradually pushing a little bit further northwards and eastwards, with some of the cold air over Scandinavia begin to retreat perhaps a little bit into far east and northeast of Europe. That's the band of rain bringing that increase in the upper air temperature. So we have a band of persistent rain stretching from northern parts of Portugal and Spain through the Bay of Biscay into northern France, in towards the UK, and then increasingly that will push into the Low Countries, Belgium, Holland, Netherlands, and also probably Denmark and southern parts of Norway too. On the northern edge across Norway, that rain is likely to turn to snow. Lots of dry weather then through many other parts of Europe too, run into these heavy showers and thunderstorms through the southern part and southeast part of the Mediterranean, and then we'll have some snow into the northwest of Russia, just beginning to push in towards eastern parts of Europe. And the temperatures look like that. So still cold across much of Scandinavia and the northeast of Europe. Those southern parts of Norway and Sweden probably seeing, and Denmark too, probably seeing the coldest of the temperature begin to retreat a little bit. So the coldest temperatures like through Finland and the Baltic Sea states as well, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, and going down into northern parts of Ukraine and into the northwest of Russia. Of course, in Mediterranean, relatively mild through much of the Med, and again, Western Europe, France, into the UK and Ireland, things look reasonably mild too. Now moving into Monday, we find low pressure beginning to weaken across the north of Scotland. High pressure is strengthening across western parts of Russia, and also a ridge trying to build in from off the Atlantic Ocean. The upper air temperatures look like that. Coldest in the far north and eastern part of Europe. That band of rain has progressed through southern parts of Norway and just into Sweden and down into Denmark through western parts of Germany and into the Low Countries and eastern parts of France, fragmenting and breaking up as it does so, with heavy showers and thunderstorms through the central bowl of the Med, particularly affecting the Balearic Islands of Mallorca, Menorca and Ibiza. Showers following to the UK, Ireland and western parts of France. More showers and thunderstorms in the extreme eastern part of the Med, though much of Eastern Europe is actually looking mainly dry. Temperatures are coldest again in the far north and northeast of Europe, begin to cool down a little bit in western portions of Europe as well. Tuesday looks like that, so that high pressure is still strengthening over the western part of Russia. Need to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, the trough of low pressure is weakening across the western part of Europe. Once again, the upper air temperatures are looking cold in the north of Europe, otherwise rather chilly away from southern Europe and the Mediterranean. Precipitation-wise, look like that. We look like that. So big showers and thunderstorms through the central bowl of the Mediterranean, progressing further eastwards, threatening perhaps southern parts of Italy. Eventually, more showers and thunderstorms through Greece and Turkey. Then much of eastern Europe will remain dry till we come further north, and then running to rain, sleet and snow through Scandinavia and into the northeastern part of Europe. And then we get a drier start through the UK, Ireland, France, Spain, Portugal, but there is more bands of rain out in the Atlantic Ocean. Temperature-wise, yes, it's coldest in the north and northeast, so not as cold as it is right now, so the coldest of the temperatures do retreat a little bit through the early part of next week. Meanwhile, it's cooling down, though, across western parts of Europe. And then into Wednesday, well, high pressure just generally strengthening really across the country, squeezing the life out of these troughs of low pressure. So the upper air temperatures look like that. Generally cold across the far north of Europe, cool elsewhere. And out in west, technically mild with the upper air temperatures, although as high pressure is taking over, we have to start thinking about low-level surface cold developing. So rain, sleet, snow again affecting Scandinavia. More wet weather trying to get into the UK, but this time probably just affecting Ireland, far southwest of England, possibly western parts of France, and then down in Spain and Portugal. Large dry spot through much of France over towards the Black Sea. And then we have the semi-showers of thunderstorms still there across the southern and southeastern part of the Mediterranean. Temperatures are becoming colder across Scandinavia. The colds begin to strengthen and into the far east and northeast of Europe as well. We see an intensification of the cold temperatures by Wednesday. And looking pretty chilly really across most parts of Europe. You have to go down into Med, I think, to find anything that would be classed as being relatively warm. Into Thursday, a high pressure increasingly influential here. This is the first day of December, by the way, and third day of meteorological winter. High pressure increasingly starting to dominate across many parts of Europe at this point, as the life has been squeezed out of both troughs of low pressure. Upper air temperatures are becoming rather cold across much of northern Europe. Deep cold beginning to edge into the far northwest of Russia, you'll notice. Upper air temperatures relatively mild across western parts of Europe, but again we have to factor in that under high pressure, so we're likely to be seeing an increasing risk of frost and probably fog as well. Precipitation looks like that, so snow I think primarily at this point across large portions of Scandinavia and northeast of Europe. Heavy showers and thunderstorms for the eastern part of the Mediterranean. Some scattered showers and thunderstorms into some parts of Spain and the central part of Med as well. But actually a lot of dry weather by the time we get through the Thursday across many parts of Europe as that high pressure increasingly starts to dominate the scene. Notice the cold temperatures are intensifying here in the far north and northeast of Europe. Elsewhere, it's going to depend on how much fog and frost develops, in terms of how chilly it starts to get through the second half next week. And then just running on to day 10, so this is Friday. Again, the idea through the end of next week and into the first weekend of December will be high pressure taking over, really, across most parts of Europe. So high pressure becomes increasingly dominant. The weather should remain dry in many areas. But as these easy winds pick up, we'll start to drag colder air out of Russia into the north of Europe in particular. And there will be increasing risk of snow across northern parts of Europe. Elsewhere, the risk is of frost and fog, I think, under the areas of high pressure, or the ridges of high pressure. So that's going to be one to watch. Right, so that is it for the European Outlook for this week. Quite an interesting week to come. We're going to be back shortly with you 10 to 14 days, so make sure you come back for that. For this week's European Outlook, that's all for now. And thanks for watching.